What's going on, everyone? Bran here, about to give you the bloody breakdown on what John Carpenter recently had to say about a follow-up to The Thing. Right, so it is one of my all-time favorite horror films. John Carpenter, no stranger to that distinction. Some of my absolute favorites he's directed. But recently he had a sit-down with fandom, and I got a couple of quotes here that definitely raised both of my very large, thick eyebrows. And that was, I'll go ahead and start you with this one. He says, they're basically asking him if there's anything he would like to work on, for example, in the future, maybe a follow-up to something he's already done. And he had this to say. He says, quote, "Maybe The Thing, maybe Prince of Darkness. I can see a little bit more of that, but we'll see. You never know in this business. You really don't." So later on, he would go on to say, "I just think there's another bit of story to tell there, which I'm not going to tell you about. But there have been some discussions about The Thing and what we could do, because as far as we know, both those two main characters," and he's speaking, of course, of Keith David and Kurt Russell, "are still alive. They were alive at the end of The Thing, so maybe they're still alive." The article goes on to say that he was asked about, would Kurt Russell return for a sequel, to which Carpenter did give a straight up, he wasn't sure, he didn't know answer to that. But I do think it was interesting, because it's been a while since we've actually even heard anything about this. If you go back to, I believe it was January of 2020, Universal and Blumhouse were actually developing an adaptation of Who Goes There? The original novella that was kind of the inspiration from The Thing from Another World, and then, of course, John Carpenter's The Thing. And it was actually supposed to adapt Frozen Hell, which is, according to this article here, a longer version of the tale that's actually recently been unearthed, so to speak. It was around the summer of 2020, August if I'm not mistaken, when you would actually finally hear John Carpenter talk about that project, kind of teasing that it would be a Frozen Hell adaptation. And now here we are, almost 2 years later, and nothing has really been said about it until this interview. So I really think it's interesting that not only are we now starting to talk about it again, but it's John Carpenter who's once again talking about it. And ever since I have heard this news, every article that is written about this news really is trying to tease the participation of John Carpenter as not just, scoring a film, a sequel to The Thing, or, producing a sequel, but actually directing it, which is really what perked my attention, so to speak, because John Carpenter, I guess he's unofficially retired. I mean, I don't think he's ever really come out and said he was retired from film directing, but as far as my knowledge goes, he hasn't directed a film since 2010 with The Ward, which of course didn't do so well. I thought it was pretty decent, but I guess that's neither here nor there. So to have John Carpenter getting back in the director's chair to actually take the helm and make a sequel to The Thing, that may be something I would be on board for. Normally I would say, the prequel they made in 2011 was what it was. I mean, it wasn't awful, but I think the CGI really threw it off for me, considering the original John Carpenter film was really known for its amazing use of practical effects, and I guess it really just took it out of it for me, took me out of it, so to speak. So man, can you imagine how interesting that would be to have John Carpenter? And I know he's in his 70s now, so I don't, this could just be, honestly, at the end of the day, just wishful thinking, but how awesome would it be to see a John Carpenter directed sequel to The Thing? Man, I gotta tell you, that would be absolutely incredible. Now, the likelihood of that happening, I would say, is probably not very high, but there is a good bit of talk about it right now. So it is interesting. And I got to tell you, if there's one movie I would really love to see a sequel to from the works of John Carpenter that we haven't already seen a sequel to, it's definitely The Thing. So yeah, what do you all think about this? Leave your comments down below. Let me know what you all think. Do you think John Carpenter would ever actually get back in the director's chair behind the camera for another film? Do you think that's maybe just wishful thinking on the fans' part? And what do you think about the potential follow-up to The Thing, or a Frozen Hell adaptation? Which one would you prefer? Let me know down below. And while you're there, leave a like if you enjoyed the video, dislike if you didn't. No one's going to see that shit but me anyway. Subscribe and turn on notifications if you like what we're doing here. And check the description section with a couple of links to follow me or support the channel. So yeah, with that said, I'm Bran, and you've just got the bloody breakdown on a possible The Thing 2.